Thanks for the $15,000 venue deposit, sis. Brad and I will have the perfect wedding now, she texted. What she didn't know, Brad's company was mine, his apartment was mine, and tomorrow, she'd learn everything was mine. I stared at my phone screen, reading Jessica's text over and over, waiting for the punchline. This had to be a joke. My younger sister couldn't have actually stolen my wedding venue deposit. The $15,000 I'd saved for 3 years, working double shifts as a nurse while building my medical startup on the side. But the screenshot she'd sent of the venue's confirmation email, transferred to Jessica Martinez and Brad Coleman, told me this was real. My name is Isabella Martinez, and at 31, I thought I'd seen the worst of my sister's selfishness. Growing up, Jessica was always the golden child, pretty, popular, and perpetually playing the victim. While I worked my way through nursing school, she partied through community college. While I saved every penny, she spent mom and dad's money like it was endless. But stealing my wedding deposit? This was a new low, even for her. I called the venue immediately. Rosewood Gardens. This is Patricia. Hi Patricia. This is Isabella Martinez. There's been a mistake with my deposit. Oh, Ms. Martinez, your sister just left. Such a sweet girl. She explained the situation. How you'd gifted her the venue as an engagement present. How generous. I didn't gift her anything, I said through gritted teeth. That deposit was stolen. Patricia's tone shifted. Well, she had all your information, your confirmation number, your password. She said you were there with her earlier but had to leave for a medical emergency. Look, I'm sorry, but without proof of theft, the transfer stands. It's in our contract. I hung up, my hands shaking. Jessica had played this perfectly. She knew I used the same password for most things, our childhood dog's name. She knew I kept important documents in my home office. She'd been there last week, crying about Brad losing his job, and I'd comforted her like always. While I was making her tea, she was stealing my future. My phone buzzed with another text from Jessica. Don't be mad. You always said family comes first. Besides, you and David can get married anywhere. Brad needs this perfect wedding for his image. You understand, right? Love you, David, my fiancé of 4 years, who'd been patient and supportive as I built my career and business, who'd proposed with his grandmother's ring because he knew I valued sentiment over size, who was currently in Seattle, presenting at a medical conference, blissfully unaware that our wedding venue had just been stolen. I didn't call him, not yet, because as I sat in my apartment, fury building, I realized something Jessica didn't know, something that was about to make her betrayal the worst decision of her life. Brad Coleman, her fiancé, the man she'd been dating for 8 months and was apparently ready to marry using my money. I knew Brad very well, better than Jessica could imagine. 3 years ago, when I was developing my medical software startup, I needed investment. Brad was a junior partner at a venture capital firm, cocky and ambitious. He'd pursued the deal aggressively, and eventually, I'd agreed to his terms. What he didn't realize, what none of them realized because I'd used a shell company, was that his firm hadn't just invested in my startup, they'd given me controlling interest in several of their properties, including the tech company where Brad now worked as CEO, including the apartment building where he lived, including the investment firm that paid his bonuses. Brad Coleman had spent 3 years unknowingly making me rich while dating my sister, and now he'd helped her steal from me. Time for them to learn who really held the cards. I opened my laptop and began pulling files, contract after contract, deed after deed. 3 years of careful planning, of building an empire while everyone thought I was just a nurse with a side project. My medical software company was the visible part of the iceberg. Below the surface was so much more. First, I called my lawyer, Diane Chen. I need you to execute Operation Clean Sweep. All of it? Diane sounded surprised. That's 23 properties and 4 companies. All of it. Start with Coleman Industries and 1547 Park Avenue. Brad Coleman's company and apartment building? The very same. Diane whistled low. He's going to lose his mind when he finds out. When do you want to pull the trigger? I checked the date. Jessica just stole my wedding venue for her wedding to Brad. It's in 6 weeks. Let's give them 5 weeks to plan everything. Send invitations. Order flowers. Then we strike. Brutal. I love it. I could hear Diane smile. I'll have the papers ready by morning. Next, I scrolled through my contacts to Martha Coleman, Brad's mother. We'd become friendly over the years, though she had no idea I was the shadow investor in her son's life. She thought I was just a nurse who'd helped her through a health scare. Martha, it's Isabella. I have some news about Brad and Jessica. The next 5 weeks were torture and theater combined. Jessica threw herself into wedding planning with my money. posting constantly on social media. Can't believe I found my dream venue. #blessed #future Mrs. Coleman. She had the audacity to invite me to her engagement party. I attended, wearing a simple black dress and a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Bella," she squealed, throwing her arms around me, "isn't this amazing? Look at the ring Brad got me." The ring was enormous, easily $50,000. I recognized it from the jewelry store next to Brad's office, the one in the building I owned. "It's beautiful," I said calmly. "Brad must be doing well." Brad appeared then, all swagger and expensive suit. "Business is booming. Just closed a huge deal with some overseas investors. We're set for life, babe." Jessica giggled and kissed him. I wanted to tell him those overseas investors were my shell companies, that I'd been slowly buying out his shares for months. Instead, I smiled and toasted their happiness. "Oh, Bella," Jessica said suddenly, "I'm sorry about the venue thing, but you understand, right? Brad needed something impressive for his business contacts. Image is everything in his world." "I understand completely," I said. "Image is everything." Mom pulled me aside later. "It was wrong of Jessica to take your deposit, but she's your sister, and she's finally happy. Can't you just let this go? She stole $15,000 from me." "Mom, Brad will pay you back. He's very successful." I bit my tongue. Mom had always made excuses for Jessica. Pretty, helpless Jessica who couldn't possibly be expected to face consequences. Hardworking Isabella who should always be the bigger person. "Sure, Mom, I'm sure he will." I left early, but not before Brad cornered me at the bar. "Thanks for being cool about the venue. Jessica was worried you'd freak out. I told her you were too smart to let family drama affect business." "Business?" I raised an eyebrow. "Well, yeah, I might throw some investment your way for that little medical thing you're working on. Keep it in the family, you know?" He winked like he was doing me a favor. "That's very generous, Brad." He clapped me on the shoulder. "What's family for, right? What's family for, indeed." The next 5 weeks, I watched Jessica plan my dream wedding. She used my vendor list, my flower arrangements, even my menu selections. Every detail I'd spent months planning, she copied. She sent me photos for approval, as if I was her wedding planner instead of the sister she'd robbed. "Do you think the roses should be blush or ivory?" she texted. "Blush," I replied. "They'd look better in the foreclosure photos." Meanwhile, I was busy with Diane. We restructured holdings, transferred assets, and prepared for financial Armageddon. Brad's company was leveraged to the hilt, I knew because I held the loans. His apartment was rented, not owned, from me. Every aspect of his flashy lifestyle was built on foundations I controlled. David returned from Seattle concerned about the venue situation, but I told him I had it handled. "Trust me," I said, "we're going to have a better wedding than we ever imagined." He knew me well enough not to push. Should I be worried about Jessica? No, I said. Jessica should be worried about Jessica. A week before the wedding, things accelerated. I had Martha Coleman over for tea, where she mentioned her concerns about Brad's spending. "He says business is great, but something feels off. He's been so secretive lately, probably just wedding stress," I suggested, pouring her another cup. "Though you're right to be concerned. The market's been volatile. You understand these things better than I do." Martha sighed. "I just hope he's not in over his head." "I'm sure everything will become clear soon," I assured her. 3 days before the wedding, I received a call from Patricia at Rosewood Gardens. "Ms. Martinez? I'm calling about the Coleman-Martinez wedding. There seems to be an issue with the final payment." "What kind of issue?" "Mr. Coleman's credit card was declined. All of them. Your sister isn't answering her phone." "How much is owed?" $47,000, including catering and rentals." "I see. Unfortunately, I can't help. That booking isn't under my name anymore, remember?" Patricia's silence spoke volumes. "Right, of course. I'm sorry for bothering you." My phone exploded an hour later. 17 calls from Jessica, 23 texts ranging from "help" to "what did you do?" to "please call me back. It's an emergency." I let her stew until evening, then answered on the 20th call. "Bella, thank God," she was sobbing. "Something's wrong with Brad's cards. The venue wants full payment or they'll cancel everything." "That's terrible," I said mildly. "What does Brad say?" "He's not answering. He's been in emergency meetings all day. His assistant said something about frozen assets and investigations." "I don't understand." I did. The SEC had received an anonymous tip about irregularities in Brad's overseas deals. They'd frozen his accounts pending investigation. Amazing how quickly these things moved when you had the right lawyers. "I'm sure it's a misunderstanding," I said. "Brad's so successful, he'll sort it out. But the wedding is in 3 days. Can you help, please?" I'll pay you back. I swear. Pay me back? Like you paid back the $15,000 you stole? Silence. Then, I was going to, Brad said. Brad says a lot of things. Good luck, Jessica. I hung up and turned off my phone. The wedding day arrived gray and drizzly. I dressed carefully in an elegant navy suit, professional, not celebratory. David adjusted my necklace, a simple pearl strand that had been my grandmother's. You sure you want to do this? He asked. I need to see it through, I said. Besides, someone should be there for Mom. What remained of the wedding was held in Jessica's apartment courtyard. The Rosewood Gardens had cancelled when the payment never came through. The caterers, florist, and band had all bailed. Jessica had managed to arrange some last-minute grocery store flowers and a Spotify playlist. About 30 guests showed up out of the original 200. Most of Brad's business contacts had mysteriously urgent commitments after news of the SEC investigation broke. Jessica looked beautiful but hollow in her designer dress, bought, I noticed, before Brad's cards were frozen. She kept checking her phone, probably hoping for a miracle. Brad looked like he'd aged 10 years in 3 days. His suit was the same one from the engagement party, but it hung loose now. Stress had carved lines in his face. Dearly beloved, the officiant began. I wondered if Jessica had paid him or if he was working on credit too. That's when the doors burst open. Not dramatically, this wasn't a movie, but the 2 men in dark suits who entered might as well have been wearing FBI signs. Brad Coleman? The taller one showed his badge. You need to come with us. You're under arrest for wire fraud, money laundering, and insider trading. The courtyard erupted. Jessica screamed. Brad's mother fainted. Mom grabbed my arm so tight she left bruises. I didn't do anything, Brad shouted as they cuffed him. This is a mistake. Tell them, Jessica. But Jessica was backing away, her face a mask of horror, the princess watching her castle crumble. As they led Brad away, his eyes met mine, and in that moment, he knew. I saw the recognition, the understanding, the rage. You, he mouthed. I smiled and gave a small wave. The reception, such as it was, dissolved into chaos. Jessica cornered me in the bathroom, mascara running down her cheeks. You did this, she accused. I don't know how, but you destroyed my life. No, Jessica, you destroyed your life the moment you decided to steal from me. I touched up my lipstick calmly. Did you really think there wouldn't be consequences? It was just money. I was going to pay you back. With what? Brad's money? The money he made from companies I own? I turned to face her. Oh, you didn't know? Coleman Industries, his apartment building, 3 of his major investors, all mine, has been for years. Her face went white. That's impossible. You're just a nurse. I'm a nurse who built a medical software empire, who invested smartly, who played the long game while you played dress up with stolen money. I headed for the door. By the way, Brad's apartment? The lease ends tomorrow. You might want to pack. Bella, please, she grabbed my arm. I'm your sister. Were you my sister when you snuck into my home and robbed me? Were you my sister when you laughed about taking my dream venue? I shook her off. Family means nothing to you except what you can take from it. Well, congratulations. You took everything you could from me, and now you get to live with the consequences. I left her sobbing on the bathroom floor. Outside, David was waiting with the car. How do you feel? He asked as we drove away. Free, I said honestly, and ready to plan our real wedding. At Rosewood Gardens? I laughed. God, no. That place has terrible karma now. I was thinking somewhere tropical. Somewhere Jessica could never afford to follow. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Brad's arrest revealed years of financial crimes I'd had nothing to do with. I'd just helped them come to light. He'd been skimming from investors, hiding money offshore, living a lie as big as his ego. He got 15 years federal time. Jessica lost everything: the apartment, the ring, evidence, the designer clothes, bought with stolen funds, the social media lifestyle, hard to maintain when you're broke. She moved back in with our parents, working at a department store to pay legal fees. She tried to sue me, of course, claimed I'd entrapped Brad, destroyed her life maliciously, but Diane had documented everything perfectly, every transaction legal, every move above board. I'd simply collected what was mine and reported crimes to the proper authorities. Mom still thinks I was too harsh. She's learned her lesson, she says every holiday, hoping I'll forgive and forget. But some lessons need to stick. Jessica stole more than money, she stole my trust, my celebration, my carefully planned future. She thought she could take what I'd earned and face no consequences because she never had before. Now she knows better. David and I got married 6 months later on a beach in Turks and Caicos. Small, intimate, perfect. We used the money from selling Brad's company assets to start a medical foundation. It felt like turning something toxic into something healing. Jessica wasn't invited. She found out through Instagram like everyone else. She texted me a week later, "Your wedding looked beautiful. I'm sorry for everything. Can we talk?" I stared at the message for a long time, then I archived it without responding. Some bridges, once burned, light the way to better places, and I was finally exactly where I belonged, successful, loved, and free from family who only saw me as a resource to exploit. Jessica wanted my wedding venue, my money, my life. In the end, she got exactly what she deserved. Nothing. Retry. Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.